Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Formula One podcast. I was going to say which number it is, but I think we're up to about 9 now. I'm the father in the title, I'm Graham Miller, and I'm joined here by my son, Toby.
Hello. Hello.
And we always watch the Formula One together, we always watch the Formula One. He's in Leicester at the moment, and I'm in South Wales, so... and this is the Monaco edition. Always a glamorous and, shall we say, interesting race, isn't it, Monaco?
I think interesting is the opposite of the race, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
It's I found it interesting at a sort of higher level.
Yeah.
But the actual day-to-day business of going around the track was quite dull.
Yeah, let's go right back. 3 practices. Lewis was fastest in 1, you said, wasn't he?
Yes.
And then Charles Leclerc got it dialed in.
But Hamilton was still second in FP2, third in FP3.
Yeah, I mean...
His position was the number that the practice session was, basically.
Wow. But, I mean, in a way, it's such a weird outlier of a track in terms of bumpiness and corners and speed and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of the complete opposite of Monza, which I find quite funny, because they're the two most historic, oldest, most revered tracks in a way. But Monza is just the complete opposite.
I think Silverstone's quite a long way up there, because it was the first ever GP.
Yeah, I think Silverstone and Spa, Monaco and Monza,
yeah,
they're the big ones. But Monza's kind of... It's just funny how it's totally the opposite. It's just top speed. They'd take the rear wings off if they could get away with it.
Didn't Kimi Raikkonen set a lap at an average of 160 miles an hour at Monza?
Yeah, it was the fastest average speed ever.
Yeah.
Still is, I think, actually.
Yep.
But yeah, Monaco is just super high downforce. Which,
yeah, so you talk.
Yeah, it's super high downforce, which does mean that following is much harder, because if there's a car in front of you, you're affected more.
Yeah, and overtaking obviously is a problem.
Yes.
I would say out of the whole weekend, qualifying, I was literally on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. That's how it always is with Monaco. It's the qualifying Grand Prix. Because qualifying basically determines the positions.
But it's not only that, it's the fact that they go out with enough fuel for basically the whole session.
Yeah.
So you're not like, oh, it's 3.5 minutes to go, let's calculate when we can go out and find a free spot. They just go round and round and the times keep tumbling and you're always like, oh, well, he's on pole. No, he's on pole. It's like...
There's been twice in recent history it's ended in a red flag, and there's always been 1 or 2 drivers who didn't quite get out in time, who got screwed over by it. Yeah. So now they're like, that's why they're running the whole session, because if you just stay in the garage and leave with 2 minutes to go, you're really high risk.
And, I mean, without diving too much into the controversy, I think I've seen comments by drivers about banning people who deliberately red flag it. I know Michael Schumacher basically parked his car on a corner because he had the fastest lap and he wanted to stuff everybody else behind him.
Yeah, I think...
With something like 1.5 minutes to go, you can do that and you know that the session's just never going to restart.
Yeah, well, I think having their fastest lap time deleted, maybe, so they wouldn't get pole, but they might still be, 3rd or 4th.
I've never actually looked it up, but somebody said they should go to Indy car racing qualifying rules.
What are the IndyCar racing qualifying rules? I don't know IndyCar as well as I should, probably.
Yeah, are you going to look it up or shall I?
I'm looking it up. I'm already looking it up.
Okay, while Toby is typing and looking that up, I found some statistics for you. Mm-hmm. I believe, and I'm willing to be proved wrong, that's the only race in Formula One history, which is like 1,200 races long now, where the top 10 starting grid was the top 10 finishing positions.
Yeah.
I mean, I can actually believe that because...
I believe that, yeah. Because with most Monaco races, there's usually one driver in the top 10 who makes a mistake, has a bad pit stop, which obviously wasn't a problem in this race, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There's something. Because Leclerc got pole and he didn't win for like twice in a row or something.
Yeah, the first time he had an accident on the final run of qualifying and smacked his car into a barrier.
Well, I think that was a genuine mistake.
I think that was a genuine mistake.
He ended up not starting because he knackered his gearbox. So there's kind of karma there anyway.
Yeah, no, it was a genuine mistake, but then somehow Ferrari didn't fix it properly, and not even formation lap, but on his way to the grid, the drive shaft went, which is obviously what takes all the load when you're going through, like smacking something hard into a corner.
Yeah.
And the second time he qualified on pole at Monaco, Ferrari strategy geniuses managed to convert pole into a fourth place, kind of incomprehensibly, really.
Yeah.
Because you think a pole at Monaco would be kind of pretty much a slam dunk, or certainly to get on the podium. It was a bit weird.
The IndyCar qualifying rules are very complicated. But if a car causes a red flag condition, the car's best 2 timed laps of the segment, which I think is like Q3, will be disallowed, and the car will not be allowed to advance. If a car causes 2 red flag conditions in one segment, all segment times are voided, and they're not permitted to participate in the qualifying.
Which means they start from the back of the grid.
Yeah, so they are quite harsh about it.
Didn't that happen to the Haas's over like a really bizarre DRS issue?
Yeah, they got disqualified from qualifying.
And they actually, bless them, they went to the stewards and they held their hands up and said they had a new rear wing. The guys in the factory hadn't adequately communicated the new rear wing setup to the mechanics in the pit. And they made a mistake.
Yeah.
There was none of this kind of...
I think it's a similar situation to what Hamilton had that one time in Brazil, where it was just like millimetres off, but you can't allow anything.
Well, no, because the way teams are, they'll just go for it if they know there's a bit of leeway.
And they were pretty good. Like, they were 13th and... Oh, I can't do the maths because they changed it. They were 13th and 15th, I think.
Sounds about right, to be honest. Because Perez was 18th and he went up 2 places.
Yeah. So
he qualified 18th and actually finished 16th.
Yeah, which is still not out of Q1.
No.
I mean,
it's still
qualifying 18th is quite impressively bad.
Well, when your teammate manages to get 6th.
Okay, but actually consider this. When Max Verstappen can only manage 6th, that car can't be good.
Well, no.
I mean, you know, if you sort of accept in your mind that Verstappen is a far better driver than Perez, that Red Bull was not behaving well at all.
No, and that car was built for him, basically, as I said last episode.
Yeah, and he still only managed 6th. I mean, Russell out-qualified him.
Yeah, he was stuck between 2 Mercedes, and they've really been off the pace this season.
Yeah, I mean, this race they were pretty comfortably sort of back of the top.
Yeah.
It was a really odd race because Hamilton at one point had a lap on Tsunoda.
Yeah.
Like, he actually lapped to the car behind him, which is just utterly bizarre.
Right, should we do this in order? Should we handle the first lap, first of all?
Yes, first lap was the most
3 accidents.
Exciting thing. Yes,
the most minor one was Norris and Sainz having a bit of a...
I thought it was Piastri and Sainz.
Oh, it was Piastri, yeah.
Because Sainz was starting in 3rd, tried to go around the outside of Sandoval. Piastri gave him enough space for his car to be there but not to go through.
Yeah.
Tapped his rear left against Sainz's right front.
I don't think it was tyre to tyre. I think it was tyre to side.
It was tyre to wall, wasn't it?
Yeah, because if it had been tyre to tyre, you'd have had a flip up in the air.
Yeah, hang on a second. Did Sainz go up the inside and then push him wide? Because now I'm trying to remember. I'm just literally rewatching the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah, it was something like that. Let's be honest, the highlights were the first lap.
Yeah, Sainz tries to go up the inside, pushes Piastri wide, in inverted commas, because there is no wide.
Yeah.
Piastri had, like, nanometers to the barrier. Sainz hit Piastri's sidewall with his tyre, got a puncture down the hill. Up the hill, down the hill.
Yeah.
But by the time he had stopped in that little runoff area, there was carnage behind him.
Yeah.
So, and he got so lucky.
Well, yeah, because the last cars that were still running hadn't gone through any of the timing points, so they couldn't establish a new order.
But even without a puncture, Norris and Russell had to wait for Sainz to pull off to the side of the road before they could get past him.
Yeah.
Even as he was crawling.
Yeah.
And as for the last driver going through, it was Zhou Guanyu, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he actually basically parked in front of them because he was like, well, where do I go?
Yeah, he had the inside seat for the enormous Magnussen-Perez collecting Hulkenberg crash.
He also got quite lucky that he got away with running over all that debris, to be honest.
So, Toby, what do you think of the steward's decision that Haas, it is a Haas actually, Magnussen versus Perez was a racing incident?
Well, I think it was a racing incident. Button on the SkyPad, because they had a long red flag, so they were spending ages looking over every angle.
Yeah.
Button said if he was in Magnussen's position, he wouldn't have gone up there.
Yeah.
And then he said, but Perez did see him and still came across to the right, but he probably expected Magnussen to back out.
Yeah, see, I think that was the key factor. I saw that as well, and you see Perez's head. There's like 3 or 4 turns to the right as he's approaching.
Yeah, so he knows Magnussen's there.
And to be fair, it is Monaco.
It's lap 1 Monaco, yeah.
Yeah, he's not... If he holds his position and gets aggressive, he's not pushing him out into some gravel or over some curbs. It's wall or nothing.
Almost looks like Magnussen's rubbing the wall before he hits Perez. Like he's so close to that right-hand wall.
Yeah.
So in a way, he kind of... if Perez had yielded a couple centimetres to the left, Magnussen would have slipped through and it would have been an awesome move.
You see, again, I don't think so. I think for all that the Red Bull was struggling that weekend, I think Perez is in a faster car. And I think he could have had... I mean, if I'm thinking about the corner, it's kind of like a very shallow S. So he would have had the inside line on the next corner. More powerful car. Could have given him a car's width and just booted it up the road. Probably been up Magnussen's gearbox on the next corner and been on the inside. He probably would have dropped him, to be honest.
Who you think Perez would have dropped Magnussen?
Yeah, I think he would have had a aborted attempt, and then Perez would have pulled away, and he would have had to tuck in behind.
Yeah. It's the sort of... It's what Verstappen said, which is just that Formula One's full of ifs, you know.
Yeah.
And then he said something to the effect of, if my grandmother had wheels, she would be a bike.
Yeah.
But not precisely that.
No, it's a famous saying.
Yeah, it basically is just, what does it matter if Magnussen had made it, because he didn't.
Yeah, what happened.
But I do think it's fair, because it's lap 1 at Monaco.
Yeah. It's a chance for Magnussen to kind of establish his place in the inevitable parade that the race will become.
Yeah. But, it is also Magnussen, who's been in trouble quite a lot recently.
Yeah.
And he's actually got more penalty points than Haas has points.
Wow.
I think. Yeah,
he's on 10.
Haas have 7.
Wow. And
7 sporting points. Yeah.
And then there's the third accident, which is the one that generated all the gossip.
Yeah. Ocon dive bombing Gasly down into...
And then getting launched.
I don't even know which corner it is. I don't know the Monaco corners very well.
Portier heading into the tunnel, I believe.
Yeah. Oh god, so that's the hairpin. Yeah, it was Portier.
And that goes into the tunnel because basically Ocon flew into the tunnel way off the ground.
Yeah, because that was tyre to tyre.
Yeah, and then the boss of Alpine was seen talking to Jack Doohan. Who actually, if you look into it, is very interesting.
Yes.
He's the son of a multiple 500cc motorbike world champion.
Yeah, Mick
So he
Doohan.
knows how to race, he knows how to win. in 2023 he was third in the F2 Championship with a hatful of wins, more podiums.
Yeah, he's definitely of the right level.
But do you know what Alpine told him at the beginning of 2024?
What?
They said, we don't want you racing in any other series this year. We will pay you to be our reserve driver if you've been off F2, touring car, Indy. We want you doing nothing but reserve driving for us. And he agreed.
In case they want to ditch Ocon.
Also, that's a massive vote of confidence in him.
Yeah.
And actually, I read as well that he did, last time out with Imola or Emilia Romagna,
yeah,
we were saying how Sebastian Buemi and the other driver helped. Apparently, Jack Doohan did the same thing for Alpine. Apparently, after some of the free practice sessions, he actually flew from Monaco back to, I'm going to say Enstone? Anyway, somewhere in the UK.
Yeah.
Ran all the simulator sessions, gave them all the data, and then flew back to Monaco to observe the race. And again, is it Farmin? Farma? The head of...
Fama? It's
something like that.
It's spelled famine, but
Fama.
It's probably Fama because it's French bloke, I assume.
But he actually said at the time he was very impressed with that level of commitment to the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say... I think the general gossip is that Ocon won't be in that car in 2025. But there's a real split between he'll be benched for Canada to teach him a lesson, and apparently the needle's now swinging back towards they're going to make Ocon and Gasly sign a non-aggression pact.
Well, what can they do, though?
Presumably then, if they've actually signed it, there will be written, legally enforceable consequences if they get up to it again.
That would be kind of, I think, unheard of almost in Formula One.
I mean, to be honest, when they were signed up as teammates at the beginning of 2023, everybody just shook their heads and went, how long before they're punching each other in the pit lane?
Yeah.
I mean, to be blunt.
The answer was 9 races.
Well, no, because they got through all of last season, okay?
Okay, 30-odd races then. 35.
Yeah, 25 to 30.
They did get up to it a bit last year, I thought.
Yeah.
Actually, was it? It was Imola. They had a really, really close. Or was it Miami? It was Miami. They had a very, very close but totally clean battle.
Yeah.
For like 6 or 7 corners. They were just wheel to wheel, but it was actually perfectly fair.
Well, now they've lost it.
Well, yeah, because again, everybody was saying... Actually, even Ocon tweeted that it was his fault and he's sorry. Which is not a very Ocon thing to do, so it must have been really his fault.
Yeah.
Or he's trying to get back in the team's good graces.
Kind of a bit of both, I think. I think he probably recognises how difficult it would be.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And I think, to be honest, that was it for excitement in the race, wasn't it?
Well, I did think it was interesting that we had a race with no pit stops, basically.
Yeah,
because it was Monaco.
Red flag rules.
It was red flags. Everybody changed tyres. Lots of people were starting on the mediums. I think hoping for an early safety car so that they could switch onto the hards and go to the end, and they kind of got that to the most extreme possible degree.
Yeah.
Which was a lap 1 red flag. And basically the top... Did they stop at all? It says they did.
Hamilton and Verstappen stopped.
Oh yeah, so lap 1 stops. Everybody stopped on lap 1.
Yeah, that counts as a pit stop because they changed tyres.
Yeah, on F1.com it says Charles Leclerc, Piastri, Norris, etc., all the way down to the bottom, did a lap 1 pit stop.
Yeah.
Then Bottas, Stroll again 6 laps later, Hamilton, Verstappen, Sargent and Zhou are the only ones who stopped.
Yeah.
Which is
kind of
6 drivers.
It was kind of disheartening to see them actually almost in like laps 3 and 4 telling George Russell to slow down a bit.
Yeah, that was a weird moment.
And then after a while, they started telling Charles Leclerc to slow down because if he went too fast, he would drag Norris up into a free pit stop because he'd be like 25 seconds ahead of Russell.
Yeah.
He'd be able to pit and then might possibly attack. And
that's what I found interesting because I was sitting there going, this is like a never before seen pit stop strategy thing. But then it turns out that Verstappen couldn't even get past Russell on laps that were 70 laps old. Something like 50 laps older than his. In a Red Bull, couldn't get past a Mercedes. So even if Norris had pitted, I don't think he'd have got past Sainz.
No.
I don't think anybody could do it.
You could see the tyre age difference because if I remember that phase of the race, Verstappen was eating up the difference. Like he came out obviously 20 odd seconds behind because of the pit stop. And then he was taking 2 or 3 a lap out of him, wasn't he?
Easily.
And it was just, yeah. And the rest of it, like I say, a procession. Because apart from Gasly and the Sainz Ocon, Gasly and the Sainz Piastri incident, all the top 10 were basically unaffected by the drama. The top 10 finished as they qualified.
Yeah, which is weird. And kind of, it's one of those interesting facts that actually belies an incredibly boring race, because it's like, well, nothing happened.
Oh, I saw another stat for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know you were complaining that Leclerc, well not complaining, you were pointing out that Leclerc missed the Grand Slam because he didn't get fastest lap.
Yes.
Now, Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton have each gone 15 consecutive seasons getting a fastest lap in at least one race of that season.
Yes. And Hamilton has the record for the most with one team, with Mercedes.
Yeah, that because.
Yeah. So he's still breaking records.
Yeah. I think one thing that really made the race quite dull, and I know it wasn't the only factor because you look back to like last year or 2022 and the race wasn't half as dull as this, is if you do a quick Google or DuckDuckGo, if you do a quick internet search of F1 cars size comparison, there are loads of images out there. And basically up until the hybrid era, there's loads of images where they line up all the rear axles of cars going all the way back to the 50s. And up until the hybrid era started, basically the front wheels, obviously they get a bit further out as the cars get longer, but they kind of overlap with the car before. And then all of a sudden, the front wheels are just ahead, and the cars are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. The difference between 2008 and like 2018 is huge.
Yeah. It's a bit... Actually, I think I know why as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you go in like any car park, I mean, my favourite example is Waitrose car park. But if you're driving around a car park somewhere, and here in the UK you can tell the age of a car from its number plate. If you look at any car that was made, I'm going to say in the last 4 or 5 years, even stuff that used to be, brands that used to be really quite small, like Volkswagens and Kias, they're monsters now. And I think, and you can obviously back me up on the physics here, Toby.
Yes.
I think there's a minimum size of battery you've got to have in order to get performance. I think once you start adding batteries and hybrid systems to any vehicle, you've got, I can't think of the word, but you've got like a baseline where you've got to have a certain amount of weight and a certain amount of size. And then you kind of, as you add more, you get more performance. And if you want to get up to something with any decent performance, whether it's for going shopping or going around a Formula One track, I think you end up with a monstrously big car, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, performance means different things because in one sense it's speed, but with like consumer cars it's like efficiency and extra range. And you have to offset the weight of the battery itself.
Yeah. And also like legroom and space inside as well.
Yeah. But I mean, cars that we drive, old 20-year-old cars, even, they just look almost comically small now in any car park.
Yeah, and it's the same with like even F1 cars from 10 years ago. They just look tiny compared to...
But also, do you not remember that one Monaco Grand Prix where, I don't remember what year it was Mansell trying to get past Senna.
Yeah.
And which automatically means it's like 80s or 90s. Quite small cars. And Senna is just parking it right in the middle of the track and on every single apex, and Mansell cannot get past him at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is a track where you can make your car as wide as you need to, and you can stop people overtaking.
Yeah. So I think...
like I say, there were a lot of factors. Because if it was just the size of the cars, the whole hybrid era would have had zero overtaking, and we know that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it's the length doesn't help, because it means there's less ways they can get round a corner just because of the turning radius of the car.
Yeah, the width is bigger as well.
They're wider, they're longer. But also Monaco has never really, not since Formula One cars got big wings and started getting big and fast, it hasn't really been that good, I don't think, as a racetrack. No. It's just because it's so old. But I mean, Spa is old, Monza is old, and Silverstone is old. And they're all much better actual racetracks than Monaco.
Yeah, because they're not street circuits.
Yeah. But,
yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a large number of factors.
Yeah, the softness of the tyres as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said virtually every podcast the tyres really aren't helping this year.
Yeah, the tyres are strange.
Yeah.
But I think they won't do anything about Monaco. And it is weirdly kind of fun to watch anyway, just because it's like the qualifying is the best of the year, because it's so tight and it's so fast.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting. It's just that the race is so boring.
And there was
unless it rains.
There was a quote from Charles Leclerc, I think after one of the free practices, where they said, "What's your strategy going into qualify?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "Monaco is a very strange track because pretty much the only way to go faster and improve your time is to take more risks.
Yeah.
And the person on pole will take the most risks. They'll get closer and closer to the barrier, and that will improve your times. But if you get it wrong, as we said, there's no runoffs, there's no gravel, there's hardly even curbs, to be honest. It's just, look, there's the barrier."
Yeah, and that's why Leclerc crashed in that one Super Monaco run that he did. That's also probably why Senna crashed that one time. Because if you push at the limit for that long, it's just inevitable.
Yeah, you've got to put in 78 scarily perfect laps, basically.
Well, you kind of don't actually anymore, because you can just put in 78, as Russell said, pootling around laps.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about Senna, because it's Monaco, obviously, and McLaren were doing the livery thing.
Yeah.
And Prost. And how Prost said the trick is to win at the slowest possible speed. And that's probably why he won more championships and races, because he was softer to the car, and his car ended up more reliable. But the thing is, like you said, that doesn't really apply at Monaco, because there is no slowest possible speed. There's only just taking more risks. And that's why Senna was the king of Monaco in that period, and Prost never was. Even though Prost, the thing is that he would be good enough at Monaco and good enough at all the other races that he actually outperformed Senna across their time together.
Across the whole championships, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, they're two very, it's almost like narratively perfect how different they were in terms of their style and their sort of temperament.
We said last podcast that like Senna was almost kind of spiritual and just felt the car and felt his way around.
It's almost a bit like Hamilton and Verstappen in a way, because Hamilton's also quite, maybe not as spiritual in an outright Catholic sort of way, but he's quite sort of meditative and mindful and sort of thoughtful, I think, whereas Verstappen was kind of designed from a very young age to just be the perfect racing driver.
Yeah.
Like, he was born to an F1 driver and a karting champion, and his dad just made him be good at driving.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, I think Hamilton going to Ferrari is going to be the biggest culture shock ever, because one of the behind-the-scenes things that Hamilton did in all his years at Mercedes was he made it into a very modern 21st century team where people are listened to and they have mindfulness sessions and it's inclusive and diverse, and I don't think Ferrari's going to be like that.
Well, maybe not, but there is a guy who's making the big changes behind the scenes. I think it's John Elkann. He's kind of... Yeah, he's an Italian... It says he's an Italian industrialist. He's part of this Agnelli family, who hold controlling stakes in not just Ferrari, but a bunch of other car groups and also Juventus Football Club.
Yeah, don't they own big stakes in Fiat?
Yeah. He oversaw the merger between Fiat Chrysler and the PSA group, which was Peugeot.
Yeah.
He's kind of the new Enzo Ferrari, but sort of for Italian motoring in general. And he's now moving a lot of pieces. I think it was him who got... what's it called? He got Vasseur in. He got them back in endurance racing and Le Mans, because Ferrari won Le Mans last year.
Yeah, and I presume then as well he's protecting Vasseur because, as we said before, the Italian press can be so harsh and so difficult to kind of deal with if you're not winning.
Yeah, but I'm also wondering if he and Vasseur have given Hamilton enough faith that he's like, Hamilton's willing to move, and he might be a bit more pliable to what Hamilton wants.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Enzo Ferrari, the guy who said aerodynamics is for people who can't build an engine.
Yeah.
Which is a hilarious quote. He probably wouldn't have done.
No, now I'm kind of wondering how... I know on the surface of it, and with all his PR people behind him, Leclerc has said, I'm really happy to have a new teammate. But if you were in his position, wouldn't you feel like, I was brought in to help them win? Oh no, you can't do it, let's get a superstar instead. It's a bit of a... It doesn't speak of a huge amount of faith, does it?
I don't think Leclerc expects Hamilton to be there for very long, is the thing.
You think he thinks he'll do 1 or 2 seasons to wear the red and then retire?
Yeah, and then maybe get Behrman in, or someone else, and then Leclerc can be the team leader.
Yeah. It's a very odd move, isn't it?
It is. It is a weird thing for Leclerc. Because what does he do if Hamilton's so much better than him?
And again, it's like we said last time on the podcast. Verstappen is leader of that team. What's George Russell going to be thinking when Toto Wolff spends all his time talking about Antonelli and recruiting Verstappen?
Yeah.
He's not going to be thinking, wow, I'm loved and valued. He's going to be thinking...
Well, they do need a second driver, though, do they?
Yeah, but he's not looking at like an Ocon or a Hulkenberg.
You don't know if he's not looking at Ocon. I thought Wolff managed Ocon.
Yeah, I think he does, actually.
So...
But, somebody like that would be a vote of confidence in Russell, saying, we've got your back. Here's somebody who won't really push you, in a way that will upset, although it's Ocon.
Yeah.
Maybe he would.
Yeah. But I mean...
You know what I mean? It'd be a kind of vote of confidence. Here's your wingman who's going to help you win championships.
But on the other hand, they want the best driver. If they're not in the championship seat, like, when Red Bull hired Perez, he was there as a wingman, and then they got to winning championships.
Yeah.
If they're not at that level where they can win a championship, they kind of want a Sainz Leclerc level where they're basically on the same level, so they can both win relatively consistently, which they have done. But then you do run the risk of getting a sort of Hamilton-Rosberg situation, where that's when they were both too good for each other.
And they kind of sparked off each other.
Yeah, and it was a lot more conflict there than there was between Hamilton and Bottas or Schumacher and what's his face, Barrichello.
Yeah, it's Anyway, I think we kind of covered that really in the last episode, didn't we?
Yeah.
How do you think Canada's going to shape out?
Similar to this, but I think Verstappen has more of a chance. So you were saying that the reason the Red Bull was bad at Monaco is because they're just not good at bumpy street circuits.
Right, yes, I read a really technical article. What makes the Red Bull so impressive is the tunnel under their floor is higher. So what they can do is they can run the car really low and really stiff, which is what you want, and it still develops huge amounts of ground effect because it's got more air moving under the car.
Yeah.
But the problem is that stiffness is in two areas. It's vertical stiffness, so it doesn't bounce up and down much, which is probably what controls the porpoising, to be honest. And it's roll stiffness, so it doesn't roll from side to side as it goes around corners.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with Monaco is it's really bumpy and you need to ride the curbs a lot.
Yes.
So they were finding with it low and stiff, it would hit a curb and just basically bounce. It wouldn't absorb and soak its way over the curbs.
Yeah.
So the way to do it was to raise the car. But then if you raise the car, you lose the ground effect. And having that high tunnel doesn't work for you anymore. And you lose downforce and you're not really making it work. I think on Perez's car, and in aerodynamics terms, this is a huge amount, they reduced the roll stiffness by 15%.
Yeah.
So they made it 15% softer, which is not like, oh, let's just tweak this setting here. That's like, let's just turn the knob and see what happens.
Yeah.
And even doing that, like we said, he qualified down in 18th.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a lose-lose situation because they either lose downforce and ride the curbs, which is slow because it's Monaco, or they avoid the curbs and keep the downforce, which is slow because Monaco is like 30% curbs.
Yeah, and if you're not on curbs, you're on the bumpy street.
Yeah, well, there's like the hairpin. They were going up onto like the cobblestones.
Yeah,
almost. So yeah, but it was similar at Miami, I think. Maybe not as pronounced because Miami wasn't as bad a circuit because it's quite high speed. But, you know, Verstappen was still slower than Norris. And Perez was only fourth.
And they managed it quite well at Imola because Imola's a custom racetrack, so the actual surface is smoother.
Yeah, although again, Norris was very close.
Norris was eating into his lead. I mean, that was a tyre issue.
I also just think the McLaren is very fast now. Like, I think they've actually caught up to Red Bull.
Well, that's the other thing this article said. In the past couple of years where Verstappen's basically won everything across the board, they could kind of hide the issue because nobody was fast enough to actually exploit it. So even with a car that's not quite operating.
Yeah.
And also, what's the one race in 2023 that Red Bull didn't win?
Singapore.
Which is a street circuit.
Bumpy street circuit, lots of curbs.
Lots of bumps.
The old Singapore Sling triple chicane would have absolutely wrecked the Red Bull. Because it's basically just bouncing across curbs.
Yeah.
Also, last year in Canada was, at the time, it was one of the smallest winning margins that Verstappen managed. It was only like 9 seconds.
Ooh.
So even then, we were thinking, what is it? Like, why are they slower but still winning? And the answer was, it was Canada. It was a bumpy street circuit, basically.
And actually, I remember from, I think, 23 and even 22, Perez seemed to do a lot better at street circuits than Verstappen.
Yeah. Some street circuits, like Baku, etc.
And people were saying, oh, yeah, well, it's because, you know, Perez likes street circuits, but maybe he just found a way to kind of manage it in some...
Yeah, I mean, because Perez won... let's see, in 2023, Perez won Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan, but he didn't win Bahrain or Australia, which are proper circuits.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Although he did really badly at Monaco last year as well. I think he just doesn't like Monaco very much.
No, I don't think... Well, yeah. I don't think many people like it, to be honest.
I think Leclerc does.
Yeah, well, he does now.
Because,
He realises as well, for that kind of monkey on your backness, Monaco was the 12th or 13th pole he'd had without a win.
Yeah.
I think prior to Monaco he'd had 12 poles without a win.
Yes. My favourite statistic, over the last 2 years, Verstappen has won more Leclerc poles than Leclerc did.
Yeah. So he must have had so much kind of going through his mind as he was going around that.
Yeah, that was the first win he's had since 2022, actually. He
Yeah,
didn't win a race.
Better.
He didn't win a race last year, but then nobody else did, so...
Well, Sainz did in a Ferrari, and then Sainz has already won one this year.
Yeah.
So he must have been, those kind of things. I think he said a lot of that was going through his mind in the last few laps, But he did it. Anyway, I think...
we've got... we'll probably wrap it up. Just one more thing.
Yeah.
This season has been, in a way, kind of like a breaking of curses, right?
Yeah.
Because Norris finally got his victory. Yeah. After, he's been around for 5 years now or something. 6 years.
Yeah.
He finally got his win. Leclerc finally got his win at Monaco.
Yeah.
There was something else as well. I think it was just to do with... Well, Sainz got that victory after appendicitis. It's kind of like a miraculous year almost, isn't it, for everybody, except Verstappen.
I think after 2023, when Verstappen set records for winning everything, and Red Bull definitely did.
Yeah.
So I'm typing in the background to see if Button or Norris had the most races before Formula One win.
I think Perez actually holds the record because his was his 200th back in 2020.
I clicked on that. Why is it not loading? Fernando Alonso has the most race starts.
My favourite Wikipedia page is F1 driver records because it's just everything.
That's exactly where I am.
I should almost have it bookmarked. Wins. I can scroll down to it.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it at the moment.
Most races before win, it was Perez, then Sainz.
Oh, okay.
It's only his 110th race, which is on a level with Rosberg and Fisichella. Button won his 115th. So it's close.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Perez, Sainz.
Yeah, Perez won his 194th entry. Yeah.
I was only 9th on that list. That's not too bad, is it?
It's still top 10 out of 800 drivers and 100 odd race winners.
Yeah, and actually, I was right to look it up because there's only 3 races between Norris and Button. So in my head, I must have...
Well, you would have seen Button actually doing that.
Yeah, the singing "We Are the Champions" through his helmet.
Yeah, because he'd actually been pretty high up for a while. Kind of like Norris, actually. And if Hulkenberg wins, he'll take the new record because he's on 214 and he hasn't even got a podium yet.
Wow.
But yeah, I was also thinking maybe Hamilton might get his final victory at Mercedes this year. Because it's been a while. He hasn't won since Abu Dhabi 2021.
That's probably, if he does, because he won in his first season, there's probably going to be something weird like longest gap between first and last win or something.
It could be, yes. That's the sort of slightly esoteric statistic that Wikipedia doesn't have, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because, he was... my memory's gone. Was Hamilton winning in the season 2006, 2007?
It's 2007. So if he wins 2024, it's 17 years.
Yeah, it's got to be a record.
Yeah. Unless Alonso can get his act together and win as well. Because Alonso was winning in 2003.
Yeah.
Anyway.
20 years.
I think we do have to wrap it up.
Okay then. So that Canada next. We've got a few weeks off to let them get themselves sorted, haven't we?
It's next week as we record this.
Oh, okay.
Because then the week after that, we are going to go and see the 24 Hours of Le Mans live in France.
And the Ransker racetrack that was shut down in 1972 and is still there.
Yes, that's going to be quite cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Are you allowed to drive on it?
Yeah, it's all public roads.
Oh, it's public roads, so you have to obey traffic laws.
Yeah, but you can actually follow the route of a 1926 racetrack.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. Some of it's been dug up and relaid as a dual carriageway, and a couple of the corners are roundabouts, but it's all still there.
Well, I'm pretty sure Azerbaijan has a roundabout in it somewhere. Oh, no, wow. It might have been Vietnam Street Circuit they were planning to do, never got round to it because of COVID. I think had a roundabout as a hairpin.
Oh man, that's cool.
That is quite fun. Yeah. But I think the week after that is Spain.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so we need to get on with it for doing podcasts.
Yeah, so once Canada's done, we'll have to do it straight after, basically.
Yep. Okay then, well, thank you for listening. I'm Graham Miller. As I say every time, author of books under Graham H. Miller. Most of our views seem to come from YouTube, so check out Toby's other videos on there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say goodbye now.
Yep, bye.
And we'll talk to you next time after Canada.
Yep. Bye.